Free Talk Live. We're launching into the third hour of the program. Of course, plenty of time for you to call in and bring up whatever's on your mind as we launch into the third hour of the show here tonight. With you in studio, it's Ian,
Rich Paul,
and Daryl.
Of course, you can bring up anything you want. Coming up, Daryl, you're going to tell us about a call flood story where a man was the police were attempting to indict a man, a journalist, for having a call flood back him up in one of his cases. We'll talk more about that here in moments. You may not know what a call flood is. We'll explain that as well. But first, to the phones and the fun. Actually, to Skype first, where we have Greg on the line here. Greg, where are you calling from tonight?
Hey, guys, we're here in Pennsylvania. Want to say hi again. I've been on the air with you guys several times, originally from the Johnstown, Pennsylvania area, just east of Pittsburgh. I have now recently moved to my hometown after 45 years in broadcasting to Huntington, PA, which is about 30 miles west of, actually south of Penn State University. So, Ian and the rest of the guys, thanks for inviting me on LRN.
We invite everybody on to LRN, so you are as invited as anyone else. So thanks for calling in. What did you want to share tonight?
Well, what I wanted to share was maybe you can ask me a question as a black man. We have a show on my network, which is the Air Network, which actually carries LRN throughout the day on, of course, topics throughout the region in the state of Pennsylvania, where we're located. Perhaps you would need an answer to what's happening in the world today from a black perspective. I'm watching this this sheriff out of Milwaukee from time to time on, I believe it is CNN or Fox, and he's giving his ideas of what's happening in the world with black people, and he doesn't speak on behalf of black people. What I wanted you to do.
No one does.
No,
in the
we
same
don't.
way that, I don't speak on behalf of men.
Exactly.
I speak on my behalf, and that's about it.
Well, let me throw this out there. Let's just consider Cleveland, the home of the Republican Convention, which is underway now. Second Amendment rights allow you to carry your long gun, perhaps, or your pistol. Wanted to kind of get a feeling from your audience on how they feel about that, because again, it's Second Amendment rights. Of course, black folks didn't have guns 400 years ago when the lynchings were going on and when we were being stripped of what human rights we had and being beaten. And now we also enjoy Second Amendment rights. So I'm wondering what the perception is out there regarding maybe perhaps some of your listeners or even you guys personally, because where are you located? New Hampshire, Maine? I mean... and I can only imagine if I come there, I'm just coming for a vacation. I'm not coming to stay.
Well, it's a beautiful place. I don't know why you wouldn't want to stay here.
Well, because you guys are
Pennsylvania.
Well, you guys are pretty much like Pennsylvania, man. We're in the woods. You know what I'm saying? I told you I'm 30 miles basically south of Penn State University. I'm nestled in the woods. I've been in broadcasting for over 45 years. We create jobs. We create the industry using the new technology and hoping people embrace it, and they have. Primarily a sports network.
Is open carry legal in Pennsylvania?
Well, no, it's not. It is, indeed, we're still back in the old age of, you've got to buy the permit and the license, and it's got to be concealed. And I'm wondering, though, is it better that folks have their weapons concealed in Cleveland this week in particular, or perhaps should we just kind of put it out there so folks can see?
I support open carrying. I think that it sends a message to people that, hey, someone's got a gun around here, and maybe you shouldn't get too crazy.
Yeah.
People, I think, are less likely to act out if they know people are armed. If everyone's concealed carrying, then you can presume, but people who are less thoughtful may not even think about those things.
But the perception
the
has
thing
been,
is,
go ahead.
Concealed carry is probably better as a tactical thing. For example, if you're open carrying in your bank and serious determined robbers walk into that bank, well, if they see you're carrying a gun, they can walk up and shoot you in the back of their head and then say, okay, now that I've got everybody else's attention, give me the money. So that's the drawback to open carry tactically. The advantage to open carry is most people are not who want to commit crimes are not that determined, and if they see a gun if
I'll
they
wait
see
until
civilians
this guy
walk around
leaves, and then I'll go in.
Well, yeah. Or I'll go somewhere else,
or a different day,
or a different day, or they might just get scared enough that they say, yeah, maybe I don't want to do this. I just thought about all the things that could happen to me robbing a store. So that's good. In terms of the origins of gun control, you talked about how blacks didn't have Second Amendment rights during the Reconstruction era in the South. And actually, that was the first gun control is America. In America is once the slaves were freed, blacks started training as militias and forming militias and learning to defend themselves against the KKK and the other bigots down there. And so the bigots got together and passed gun control and they did it like they did the voting laws, specifically so that they could keep black people from carrying weapons. And I think that's continued in the drug war policy because a lot of black people became felons as a result of the drug war, and now they can't keep and bear.
Right. Well, let's bring it forward here. Yesterday, when Cosmo, or whatever his name is, in Kansas City, or, of course, from Kansas City, in Baton Rouge.
The alleged shooter.
Alleged shooter. He was watching what was unfolding in Dallas, Texas, for instance. And obviously, black people have a problem with when we see these videos of obviously black folks being beaten up and shot on the streets of America. How is it that we're supposed to react? He was one of those guys who obviously took things into his hand, plus the shooter in Dallas. Quite frankly, folks in Dallas were carrying guns that evening in addition to the police. But the fact of the matter is, nobody shot back because they didn't know where these shots were coming from. We all enjoy the rights of the Constitution. So therein, again, going back to Cleveland this week, at this very moment, it came into question. They went to the governor and said, hey, in fact, maybe you should pass some kind of law or at least shut this down this week, taking away our Second Amendment rights. I was just kind of curious how you guys felt about that.
That's not okay. I mean, we talked about that in the first first and second hour of the show. Your rights are your rights. They don't get to be abrogated for a week just because some cops are scared.
Right.
I don't support violence as a solution, and it doesn't matter what color your skin is.
Right.
It's horrifying to see peaceful people being abused by the police. Innocent people, because you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
But that's the claim.
Right. These cops are just destroying people's lives with no consequence whatsoever for the officers involved. And as you know, it's not just black people who get shot to death and murdered by police. It's all people who are being targeted by the police.
And I will
if
say
you're not
that
with them, you're against them.
And I will say that all lives do matter. I mean, come on. Blue lives matter. There are some bad cops. I mean, no matter what fraternity there is, I don't care what you do. You could be a bad teacher. You could be a bad preacher. You could be a bad attorney. Those guys have to be weeded out. We are seeing
with the
so many
preachers
of
and with the
these.
attorneys, they don't kill people generally. It's
Not
the
generally.
Police.
Come on, I
it's
understand
the police
that.
who get away with murder.
Right.
And I can understand why people are frustrated about it. I can understand the anger. I myself used to have that anger. And really, you just have to back away from it. You have to not let that consume you. You have to look at the cops as our sad brothers and sisters who are not with it. They are disconnected from their community. They've formed this us and them mentality, and they believe that they're better, some of them, than us. Not all of them think this way, but there are a lot of bad cops. It's not just a few bad apples, and besides, the full phrase is a few bad apples spoils the bunch. Greg, good call tonight, man. Thanks for making it. You sound great, by the way.
Be good.